Well, howdy, folks. It's Mike again, and we are going to do another in the Back to the Basics focused on patterns. As I said before, I think we've done one on flat bases, and I wanted to go through each one of the pattern types. This one is going to be kind of a brief overview of ascending bases. And we'll just go through a few examples, keep this on the short side. I'm doing some more traveling and I just needed to get a couple more in the can. So we're going to be quick with this. No rambling on, Mike. So let's get into this right away. So ascending bases. This is something that is a little unusual. It's probably the most unusual of the base types. Typically, base type is a rectangle, meaning stock moves up to a certain area, hits a ceiling, or what folks call resistance, kind of stops there. Then it goes down lower, hits a floor, what people call support. You can call it whatever you want, top, bottom, anything. Fill in it is what it is. It's going in this area, it's pausing, it's consolidating, it's forming a base. You can call it whatever you want to call it. It's taking a vacation, it's waiting, letting it just build up time until it decides to either break out to the upside or break down and go lower. And so those are all like rectangles. So a flat base is a rectangle, a base or a consolidation is a rectangle, a cup with and without handle, a saucer with and without handle, or a double bottom essentially goes in a rectangle, meaning your left side high is typically the highest point. Now, there are exceptions to everything, but as a general rule, stock goes up to $100 and then starts coming down, goes down to $80 and goes back and forth. Your job is to identify, is it long enough to be a normal base? And if so, what type of base type does it, which mold does it go in? Now, there's two of them that are outside of that. And one is a high tide flag. We're not talking about that today. We'll do one on those. And then the other one is an ascending base, meaning instead of a rectangle, it's these little mini boxes on top of each other, not like a Darvis box. That's more of a rectangle. But these little mini bases, three mini bases on top of each other, kind of in the base on base family, so to speak, where it's not running up, it's just reluctantly going up because that typically happens when either the group or sector is under pressure or the general market is under pressure, but this is a really strong stock that just keeps on wanting to hit new highs until there's some sort of catalyst, whether it's news or the market or earnings or something that gets it to move and break out to the upside. That's what an ascending base is, these three little mini bases. And they have kind of specific parameters that Bill put on them. And we're going to pretty much stick to those for the most part for now, at least with this episode. And so he would say that they would be 9 to 16 weeks long. So that's relatively short. Now, remember, a flat base can be as short as 5 weeks long. All the other bases are 6 weeks long, minimum, as a general rule. And then this one, I'm saying the minimum is 9 weeks, but it stops at 16 weeks. I would not put that 16 weeks as set in stone. That's just what Bill put out there. He also recognized a base that was 8 weeks long, but I guess he didn't count the bars because it fits outside the 9 to 16. So I take everything with as kind of the art of it rather than the science. Like when I created this for Pattern Rack, I had to do it in a science mode of okay, then it has to be 9 to 16 weeks. It can't be 17 weeks. It can't be 8 weeks because the computer is doing it. But you're not a computer, right? Unless Grok or ChatGPT or someone else is watching this, I doubt it. They've got better things to do with their time too. So you can look at it as an art and just say, oh, okay, it's only 8 weeks long, but it's an ascending base, or it's 20 weeks long, but it's still an ascending base. But Bill wouldn't do that. He would say 9 to 16 weeks. So that's the first parameter, 9 to 16 weeks. The next thing is there are three components of it, three little mini bases, kind of think of it as three little cups without handles in there, and each one has to sit on top of the last one, meaning that your first pullback needs to be the lowest one in the base. And then your next pullback, that low has to sit above the low of the first one. And then your third pullback, well, it has to sit above the low of the second one. So just kind of a stair stepping up. And you have to have some distance as it's breaking out of that little mini base. You want it to go up a little bit because it's ascending, not descending. So it's not a Black Crowes tune. It is ascending, kind of like a stairway to somewhere that Robert told us about. So it's moving up, and then as it goes over the high of the last little mini cup, that's the pivot, and that is your buy point. This can be a tricky pattern to recognize. And in fact, at first, when Bill started talking about it, I thought he was just making it up, man. I just did. I could not see the ascending base to save my life. So then what I did is what I always do. If something's my weakness, I try to turn it into a strength. So I studied them until I made them a strength, and I just did nothing else but just look at ascending bases. And there's not a whole lot of them, so there's not a huge sample size for us to deal with, which makes it good and bad. Hard to learn if you don't have a lot to look at. If you're trying to figure out cups, they're all over the place, so you can figure that out. But with this, they're on the rare side. They tend to happen during bull markets in general. And again, it's something that just wants to lift, and then it's going to start going at a different pace. So as I was figuring this out, I also decided I wanted to put it into Pattern Rec, which I developed, and there's a Webby Rambles on that topic. And that took me over a decade to build. In fact, because of the sale of the businesses, Juan technically owns they own my intellectual property, which I was never paid a dime for. That did take me over a year of nights and weekends of building. Oh, what are you going to do? Man, I should have got an agent. So anyways, they own it. So I'm rebuilding it because we have to at IBD. So I'm knee deep in that of rebuilding all of the patterns from scratch. It took me a year, or took me over a decade the first time, and so we're going to have to do this in stages. So when we roll out the first go round, it's not going to be the best because it's going to be like kind of going backwards a little bit, but then eventually I'll get it. Some parts of it are going to be better. Some things that I wanted to do never got a chance to do that we're altering, but the reality is it's going to slip back in quality before it moves forward. It is what it is. But anyways, the point was, when I was building the ascending bases in Pattern Rec the first time, I really had to do some deep studying to understand how to get the computer program to pick this up, because it's a lot of wiggles and wobbles in a very short period of time, especially if it's only 9 weeks long at times, and there's 3 pullbacks and all these things that have to happen. And so I got so deep into it that it became like kind of my thing, because I could recognize it a mile away, because I kind of had to be able to develop it. The reason why I bring that up is, if you're struggling with something, any aspect of trading, make it your strength. Like, really do a deep dive into it until you become the expert on that thing that you couldn't figure out at first. Like, why not? Like, why avoid it? Like, if you have trouble with it, just do a deep dive into it and that might take you a year, might take you 3 months, might take you 3 days, depends on the topic, right? So with that, what I noticed were some original discoveries of the ascending base, and I'm going to share that with you as we go through this, and we'll share some charts here in a second. But again, I'm going to keep this on the short side, and then as we do more of the model book episodes, which I'm going to get back into, they're just on the longer side, and so I don't have the time to record those right now, but I will try to find ones that have ascending bases in there to focus on, so we can kind of reiterate this. So we'll look at this as kind of the basics of an ascending base. So I've found some ones that we've had recently. There's not a whole lot, but let me share this with you. So here we've got Market Surge open, and this is probably the important time for me to say I'm not an investment advisor. I'm not playing an investment advisor. This is not investment advice. If you want investment advice, go find an investment advisor. But that's not what this is. This is for education and as a sleep aid. So one place you can go to find current ascending bases, and this is based off the weekly pattern rather than the daily, which is a bit of an issue, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is you can go under reports, then under technical, and then go under bases forming, and then sort it here. And you can see out of 1,165 names, there's only a handful of ascending bases, but there's tons of consolidations, tons and tons. And well, we won't get into that. We're just going to go through these. So let's just look at the ones we have that the computer is picking up. And again, this is picking it up on a weekly, which is very problematic. Oh, I had to change date on here. Let's go back to the current date. Okay, so it is picking this one up as an ascending base, which it was forming and is forming. So we've got one pullback, two pullbacks, three pullbacks. So let's go to a daily on here. So it's not picking up on there, but here would be your first pullback. This is not a good example. Then an uptrend, second pullback, and an uptrend, and then the third one, if this works out like this. This is a bit unusual having that in there because that broke out into new high grounds, which essentially was your pivot. So it negates that one. So that's technically an ascending base that broke out that is now failing. So we don't have to do anything else with that. And some of these I might have positions in when this is released. So just as a blanket statement, let's just assume that I have positions in every stock that we have, but I don't think I've ever even traded this one. But we're going to skip that one. That's not a good example. Here's Snow. I think I'm trading this one right now. So here's the ascending base on the weekly. One pullback, two pullbacks, three pullbacks. Always easier to see on a daily chart. So here, the basic definition is typically you're out of a base. So here was your cup with handle, ran up, ran into some sort of problem. Normally they don't come down this weak, meaning this much closer to its original pivot, which this was the original pivot back there, but it is what it is. So here is your first pullback. You can see when you hover over this, that the way I put the pullbacks in there, I put the percent depth so you could see 18, 14, 8. That is very normal. What I discovered when I was programming this was typically your first two pullbacks were about the same depth, and your last pullback was shallower. Not always, but as a general rule, typically the first two are about the same. It doesn't mean that the first one was 18, so the second one has to be 18, but 18 and 14, pretty similar, and then 8. That's very normal. And what you need is with this pullback, this is your pullback 1. Okay, so that's your little mini cup. Then it goes up to new high ground, but for whatever reason, the group, the sector, the market, people are waiting for news, what have you, it just runs into trouble and forms another base. So here is your second little base or little mini cup right there. Now the key is that this low held above this low. Otherwise, would not be a valid ascending base. And this high, the left side high of this base, this little mini base, needs to be higher than the left side of that. So you want to kind of measure that to see, those are some of the things that you could do. Now, your third pullback, this one, again, not only are they shorter and shallower, typically they're actually shorter too. The depth or the length of the first two are typically about the same. In this case, the middle one is a little bit longer than the first one, which is a little on the unusual side. But this is holding above this, meaning by this, I mean, let me just refresh this. This low here is holding above this low, and this low is holding above this low. So it's a potential ascending base. This high is higher than this high, and this high is higher than this high. So you see it's stair stepping. So where you're buying it is as it goes through the pivot here, the 255 39. So let's just go back to that on the 24th. That was your buy point right as it went through there. That was your pivot, and also had the RS line at new highs at the same time. That's why you have your blue dot, and we had an episode on that with the RS lines at new highs there. And sometimes when you do a change date, you'll see that the pattern rec changes how it's marked. That's a bug that we're working on with the next version, because that should still be showing up as an ascending base. But you can see that this was on the long side, as I was saying, that the middle portion being 27 days. That's long. And for it to be a flat base, it has to be 25 days. So you can have ascending bases that have flat bases that, the first part is a flat base or the second part is a flat base. Very unusual, but not unheard of, to have the last one be a flat base, meaning 25 days long. And remember that we're dealing with 9 to 16 weeks long. So what is that in, where's my calculator? Is that 45 days to, let's see, 16 times 5, 80. So 45 to 80. So it's not long. Just want to double check my math. Because it has been a long day. I'm recording this on November 11th, Veterans Day. The NYSE was open again, because the NYSE really, frankly, doesn't care, in my opinion, about veterans, because if they did, they can say that they honor them, but then close on Veterans Day. It's ridiculous. My father signed up, served in Vietnam, stayed in for 20 years, and there's hundreds of thousands, millions of people like him who have fought for our country, died for our country, wounded mentally, physically, both, for our country. And the New York Stock Exchange can't close, but they can close on President's Day. They can close on Martin Luther King Day. They can close on Labor Day, Memorial Day, Juneteenth. They can close on 4th of July, which they should. Thanksgiving, or I think Good Friday, think Christmas, New Year's, but they can't close on Veterans Day. What is wrong with you? I'm sorry. Unacceptable. And I say that every year. I've been saying that every year for decades. It just pisses me off. Anyways, sorry about that. I'm proud American. What can you do? So here was I don't even know why I got off on that tangent, but the point is you can have flat bases in there, because a bases can be multiple things. Just like if you could look at a double bottom that also looks like a cup, that also looks like a consolidation, and there's nothing wrong. They're not always one or another. Like if you look at this base over here, it's a cup without handle. There's nothing else it could be. This one, that's a cup with handle. Well, someone could also argue it's a triple bottom or 3 waves down. You could also argue that it's a double bottom, saying 1 bottom, 2 bottoms, with that as your buy point. You could also say it's a shakeout plus 3, using that as your level. And then, let's see, we did an episode on that. Let's see, what is that, 140? Oops. I'm just doing them. Calculator, 140 times 1.05. So 147 would be your entry point. So right around there. Wait, that can't be right. 146. Okay, I thought I said 140. Let me do that math again. 146 times 1.05. So it's 153.3. That makes a lot more sense. 153.3. So right in there would be your shakeout plus 3. I would just wait for it to get above the 50 days. So probably there, or buying it on that gap up. And we did an episode on shakeout plus 3s as well. You should watch that one. That one's a good one. Anyways, so sometimes it's an art. Just like this is an ascending base, but it's also a flat base in there, that you could have bought it out of, and is holding the 21 day and all. So just, one of the things, so let's go to the current date. So you can see broke out and a little upside reversal there, and it's trying to hold in. Okay, let's go to our next stock. CCJ. So it was saying it was an ascending base on the weekly. Yeah. So I said earlier to focus in on the dailies with these. And the reason being, and especially with using my pattern rec, that when you only have 9 to 16 bars for the computer to go in there and identify if it's an ascending base or not, that it's so unique that it just doesn't get it right. And I'm working on that on the next go round. On the weekly is very difficult, and but on the daily you get, for every 1 bar that you have on a weekly, you have 5 bars, so it allows you to do more analysis. So I always look at it on a daily and say, okay, does it look like an ascending base on a daily? And if it doesn't, then I just skip it, even if the weekly looks like it. So we're going to skip that. And this one, okay, here's one that broke down. This is very important. And that's why you use charts. It's not that ascending bases all work out. They have about the same hit rate as the other things, that you want to know where you are wrong. And you absolutely know you're wrong when you undercut the low of your last little pullback low. So in this case right here, and notice how this was 12%, 9%, and 8%. So very much typical for an ascending base. And you can see that this was really kind of a cup with handle there that it broke out of. So then this is really part of the handle. But again, it's the art. So here's your first pullback, second pullback, and let's just go to the breakout day on the second. So it tries to break out there, looks good. It's a low price stock and all, but we're not, casting judgment there. We're just saying, okay, this is a breakout, and it's going, that is your pivot, the high of your left side of your third pullback. So this was the left side of your first pullback, left side of your second pullback, left side of your third pullback. Notice this was higher than this was higher than this is higher than this, and this is higher than this. That must happen. There's no gray area there. That's black and white. And you actually want some distance there and some distance there. So it's ascending. It's not a sideways, it's ascending. So it's like a stairs, like the stairs up. You're not taking stairs sideways. It's not like a people mover. So at this point, you're saying, your expectation is for it to go up here. But I'd probably start cutting my loss there. But certainly at this point, at the low there, you cannot let it go below that. So let's see what happens the next day. Probably start backing away because it kind of broke expectations, but you don't have to bail on the whole thing. At that point, maybe give it a little bit more time. It's just that breakout is failing now with time, right? Because now you're on the 3 days after your pivot, and it's going nowhere. So lots of times at that point, I'm going to just back out of it because that pivot isn't being confirmed. There's no follow through on that, not like a follow through day, but there's no additional follow through. So I just back away from it, and I can always buy back if it goes over that or over that. Let's just take it one day at a time. Valerie style. Okay, it's firming up. Boom, done, out of it. Okay, you see what happened there? All right, so let's go back if you didn't see that. Here it's setting back up. If you had been being patient, said, I'm going to give it one more day. Well, here's your day. You're like, oh, looks good. It's giving you an expectation because it's closing in the upper part of the range. The low held above the low from the prior day. And you're kind of breaking this little downtrend there. Your expectation is for this day to go up like this. But what ends up happening is you go down until when it breaks your expectation, you no longer know what to think. And with that, then you're just gambling if you're still holding on to it. So you're exiting, or at least that's what I would be doing. And then boom. Now, granted, the entire market came down that day. So I'm not going to do a Tuesday morning quarterbacking BS type of stuff. But the reality is, what stock was that? WB. Oh, that was our last in here. So that stock has now completely violated everything, and it is done as far as that base is concerned. And you can see it's just now has to form something else, or it doesn't have to do anything, but it's not in position. So I think there were some other ones that I've gone through that I flagged. Let's see. So we already did snow in that one. Let me just look at my flag list. I think I've got a position in this one. Okay. So here's one. You have this long consolidation, then an ascending base. Very unusual in that you've got 9%, 10%, 12%. That's the complete opposite of what you normally see. It would normally be 12, 10, 9. But given that, a lot of that happened on this bad day there, and that was probably the 10th. No, it wasn't the 10th. It was the 30th. Huh. Oh, earnings. All right. So it had, you always want to look at it and say, okay, does that make sense? It really traded down to here with the exception of that little blip. Let's see if we can see it on an intraday or 60-minute chart. Yeah. So it was just down there just for a little, you didn't know it at the time when it was down there, but it got support right off of its 50 days. So one pullback, two pullbacks, three pullbacks. So here is your entry point. It's not saying that there aren't other entry points on here or other ways that you could have gotten into it. It's just saying that that is your buy point, and it's now 4% extended in a little bit of time. So there is that one. Again, just remember, I probably have positions in these. Here's Credo. I think this was one from a ways back. All right. So here we have Credo. This is on February 9th of 2024. And again, 11, 16, 11. So that's more normal. This one was a little bit of a bigger pullback than what you would expect. But again, 2077 is higher than 1942. 2249 is higher than this. 1736 is just a little bit higher than 1735. I'd take out my calculator, but I'm not sure if it could handle that type of math. So it's just a little bit higher. That's a flaw. So when it is an ascending base, but normally you're going to have more of a distance, not just a penny there. So it would be more like about there would be about your low. So this is a bit faulty, but it's still an ascending base. And here is your pivot. Now you don't have to wait for the 2249. If you see a prior resistance, you can get into it a little bit earlier there and then add to it through that. Let's go out a week, see how this worked out. It's hanging in there. Go out another week. A little bit on the volatile side. Let's go out another 2 weeks. Just really volatile. Let's go out to the end of that month. Okay, so it's just not working out. And then the market rolls. But it's still, that was an ascending base. Let's go to the next one in there, MWA. Bet you didn't think that I liked the album NWA back in the day in my high school days. Eazy-E and all. That was a good album. But, you couldn't sing along to it, I couldn't sing along to it, but still. And I do not like rap music, but that was good. That and then Run DMC, they were good. Walk This Way and all. Okay, so let's go to this one here, 11.6. I'll just go out. Okay, so here's our ascending base, 12, 11, 7. That's much more normal. One pullback, two pullbacks, three pullbacks. And notice this is more on your normal side where you've got this move up. Like you can even do this little drawing like that, and it should be ascending like that, not like the last one, the Credo that we were looking at. And there's your pivot, and it happens. And you could have gotten a head start on it the day before on this day and started it with an expectation of it moving higher. You didn't know it was going to gap, but then adding to it on the gap. Or if you missed this early entry, then you could buy there. Let's just see how this one plays out. Just hanging in there, got to the end of the year. So it rolled, but by this point, it wasn't holding 21-day. You could have backed out of it and still been flat to up. All right, so let's look at the silver one. All I think about are songs when I look at these things. So silver, and of course, what am I thinking of? Keith Richards, of course. All right. So, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you need to go back and listen to some Keith. All right. So let's go to August. So here is our ascending bass. 10, 7, 9, a little bit odd that the last one was a little deeper, but still they're about the same size. This one, if we go from here to here, that makes sense. Here to here, it's a little bit on the shallow side. It doesn't hold up as much. So that's a little bit odd. Then from here to here, it's almost odd in that it's such a big move. But this one is more normal from 49.76 up to 71. But you've got some power in there, right there, that you could start buying it here, add to it here, add to it there. That would have been a hard day. But let's go forward a month. Wow. So really, really monster move in there. Let's see if it was the same on SLV. Oh, I guess not. But we will go to our next stocks. No, we already looked at TME. 10-cent. Oh, music. Okay. Where is this one? All right, so here's TME on a weekly back in 2024. I had flagged this because I saw this over here, but you know what? When you look over at the daily, it's kind of hard to see, and that's my deciding thing that I'm just going to skip that. So we're going to skip TME as an example, and let's go. Is this a good one? Let's see. Where's there? Oh, there's an ascending base in there. Okay, let's go back to 24. Oh, it went away. All right, so the breakout day was November. Let's look at it on a daily and see if it's there. Okay, so with this one, you've got pullback 1, pullback 2, pullback 3, 15, 12, 15. A little odd that it's 15 again at the end. With the other thing that's odd is that middle base is as long as it is, but it still qualifies. It's 70 days long, and as we said, it could go up to 80 days. And you go from here to here, here to there, here to here, here to there. So that's all looking right. And there was your pivot. And again, you probably could have bought some here with this upside reversal, added to it on that little mini gap, and then added to it as it went through there. And yeah, as we know, all things don't work out. But that's how you identify and use the ascending base. Like I said, this is on the rare side. I jotted down, oh, okay. This one, I wanted to show how I like to use it. And this is a technique that I can't recall, honestly, if I got this from Bill or was the other day I was saying that I got it from Bill, but the reality is I think I came up with this on my own. I'm pretty sure. But the doesn't matter who came up with it. The point is, as you're looking at a stock and it's starting to form what appears to be an ascending base, it gives you an expectation of what should happen. And so we're going to look at Google over here as it's forming this ascending base in 2006. And let's look at this. So it was forming, the pattern rec isn't picking it up, but let's go over to this day, because I remember trading it during this time and then realizing that, okay, it was forming an ascending base. Let's go over to the 18th. So here, first pullback, second pullback, third pullback. And I was in there going, okay, well, this should play out, and I can add to my position as it goes through that area. And notice this pullback is higher than this one. In fact, it's higher than that. That's higher than that. That's higher than that. So it has all that going for it in length of time: 1 week, 2 weeks, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it was getting there as well in time. But that doesn't mean you buy it here, because this is just a third pullback and you don't know how that's going to play out. But the thought process is it's going to definitely stop above this. So really you'd want it to kind of stop in here. And that's where the 50-day is. So stopping anywhere between here and there would be normal and natural, and then to turn and go up. But we also said that your third pullback is typically shallower than your other ones. So with that in mind, you really kind of don't want it to go any lower than here for it to be a quality one. So let's see what happens this next day. Boom. Okay, now it's starting to bother you. You can also notice that the RS line is crossing its quick level. If you don't know about what that is, go back and watch my quicksand Grateful Dead rules. That's one of the earlier Webby Rambles on, probably the best one, I think. Not the best recorded, but the best topic. This one is, still forming it, but man, that's got to firm up soon, or that's going to look odd. Go down one day, boom, done. So not only would you then not be getting ready to buy it for an ascending base, you're looking to sell this because now you don't know what to expect. You were thinking that it was forming an ascending base. The fact that it undercut that, it's done. It can no longer be an ascending base. There's no gray. Some things there's gray, some things there aren't. There is no gray there. That is a broken ascending base. What was forming an ascending base now that's broken. You don't know what to expect, even though it's the great Google. Let's see what it happens. I know everyone. Oh, just buy the pullback, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. It's quality. It's great. Blah blah blah. That's what's happening in this bull market. It happens every bull market. But look at that. Comes all the way down. Oh, but it's still fine. It's still fine. It's still fine. And everyone likes to buy in the dirt and all that stuff. Let's see what ends up happening. And then just forms his base, tries to break out, it doesn't end up working. Let's go out to the weekly. Let's see how that played out. So it took all that time, so here was this. If you were wanting to be patient and all because you don't want to panic and you don't want to, all those people are selling too much, then look, you're fine. You just had to wait a year, or 10 months. And let's go out. Let's go out another year. So it grinds higher, but there's so much more out there during that time. Okay, so let's end on a positive note. Shoot, this was going to be short. Qualcomm, and let's go to 1999. And where was that? Okay, it was in here. So it's moving up. Bill was in this, made a ton of money on it. It has this pullback to its 50-day. Now it's going along, and you've got one pullback, and now you got a second pullback, and that pullback is higher than the other one. So you're saying, oh, this might be an ascending base. So let's look at it on a daily. And let's go out a month. And we can see one pullback, two pullbacks, and 983. Okay, so that technically got higher there. So this becomes debatable if that's your third pullback or this is your third pullback. I would say this didn't go up high enough. That's kind of just flat for it to feel like an ascending base. So this is what is more normal, like from here to here, there to there, from here to here, and then here to here. So here's your ascending base. And if you're in it, and in it in a big way, the way Bill was, you could be looking at this and saying, and even down here, and kind of gunning it, saying, okay, this should be the bottom of this ascending base, and start adding to it here, adding to it here. I'd be adding to it there. I'd be adding to it there as well. And let's go forward a week, and you could add to it there, add to it there, add to it there, add to it there, just depending on your style. I like adding on to strength. So that's that buy out of this ascending base. Again, one pullback, two pullbacks, 3 pullbacks, and then boom. Let's go out to the end of the year because that's where it tops. So that was your ascending base breakout, and look at that monster run. So $50 up to 185 in a blink of an eye, and then. But it's Qualcomm. You've got to hold Qualcomm. You've got to hold Qualcomm. Diamond hands and all. But let's go out to 03. That's where it topped. That's where it went. And let's go. Just remember that when you've got sell signals out there. I know we're in a bull market. You can't even see it on here. Let me do this silly best fit. There is your top, and it ultimately fell all the way down to that level. And even years later, it was still not back to new highs. Let's go to current day. Let's zoom out. So from that point, it took you 20 years, 2 decades to get back to even if you're patient and holding. So really study history, because I see so much. We'll stop share. Hold on. I see so many folks out there that whenever there's wiggles and wobbles, and some of us cut and run and everything, that it's like, oh, it's silly. You just gotta, it's a bull market. Well, it's a bull market till it's not a bull market. Frankly, my gut tells me it's going to be a bull market for years, but because I think we're still early on in this AI thing. But that's my gut. I don't listen to my gut. I listen to what the charts are telling me. If my charts are giving me warning signals, I'm going to abide by them. Now, that's for swing trading. If I'm position trading, that's different, and then you're giving it more space and all. But just follow your rules and whatever style works for you. So this was the ascending base, kind of a basic version of it. I think you've got a taste of it. I would go and study these. And as I said, don't rely on the pattern rec so much for this one, because this is such a hard one to program in, just because the length of the amount of time and all. So use your eyes for it, but use that as a guide to help. But notice when you're in a stock, especially if you're position trading and it's pulling back, but it's hitting higher highs on that second pullback, go, okay, well, it's quite possible it's going to go a little bit into new high ground and then pull back one more time. And you can kind of get a little cute with it at times and reduce a little bit into that strength and then add to it as it's going through its final pivot, but only if that's your style. Wow. Okay. With that said, this is another one in the can for me, because I'm going to be doing some last minute traveling that I wasn't planning on. So I don't know when I'm going to be able to do these interviews, because I want to do them from the house. But this is going to be a little time consuming for me. So some future ones will be done on the road, if at all possible. So with that said, this was the ascending base. Hope you got something out of this. I will do one on each one of the base types. I have already done it on flat bases, so go back and do that. Also do the shakeout plus 3. Those are good ones for buys. That's kind of like in the double bottom family, but maybe we'll do double bottoms next. Now, a reminder, every time you watch one of these, you have to take out your credit card, Venmo, PayPal, Zelle, check, cash. No, no, no. What you need to do is go do something kind for somebody, something, an insect, an animal, what have you, a person, family member, enemy, best friend, spouse. Just do something kind that wasn't the person or thing wasn't expecting. We're trying to change things here through this little tiny podcast that I have. And I know I've been talking a lot about the number of views and everything. It bothers me. I'm competitive, man. I'm spending all this time doing this. And that's the feedback that I get is in 2 ways. One, the comments, which just mean the world to me. Oh my God, I cannot tell you how kind folks are. And it just lifts up my spirits every day, and every one of those that I read. So thank you. So that's one. So the people who are watching it seem to really dig it. And but the number of views, it's like I see some other junk out there and people standing in front of their Ferraris and stuff and got all these views. And it's like, dude, do you not understand what's going on there? Like someone's trying to sell you something. There's wrong with selling something like at all. Like I could be selling this stuff, but when someone isn't selling something and just giving it away for free, I mean, to I don't think I'm allowed to say the numbers, but I mean, just think when I did one of these with Chuck, and granted it was 6 hours long, and I forgot how much they charged. Maybe it was $400 or $500, but man, a lot of people signed up. That was a lot of money. I'm losing a lot of money every time I just give one of these out, but I'm doing it for you guys. So please watch it, please share, please subscribe, and do all that stuff. And get the word out because I'd like people to watch these. I want to help people. And the other reason why I'm doing this, and the most important part for me, frankly, is I want to leave something behind for my kids if they ever wanted to start learning how to trade. But really, I'm not sure if that's in the cards, but I'm hoping that their kids one day, when they have them, will want to trade. And you never know what life is going to bring your way. And so you've got to pretty much plan for the worst. And so I wanted to have something documented. I was going to write a book, but I'm a really slow writer. I will do one if and when I have the time, but I'm going to use this as a foundation. But I wanted something documented of my style of trading. So if my kids or my grandkids, future grandkids, ever wanted to trade, that they could learn from dad or grandpa. And so that's why, I thought this format and putting it out on YouTube, and eventually I'll put it on other places so it'll be out there and it's not just on a disc somewhere that gets lost or stolen or misplaced or what have you. So I'm doing this for them, and that's so some of the stories and stuff, if they're a little bit rambling, it's like every time I'm sitting down to do one of these things, even the back to the basics, I'm picturing my grandkids watching this one day, decades from now. And that's a big deal for me because I'd love to be able to be around to teach them, but I don't know if that's going to be in the cards. So I wanted to have something for them. So that's what this is for. So thanks for putting up with that. So, anyways, with all of that, you go and be kind out there, spread the word, and go see. I've got to tell you, man, I said this on one of the last ones. Yeah, I went to go see Mammoth twice. Wolfie Van Halen's band, which I just love, and Frank, who I got to meet, is one of the guitar players in the band. Couldn't have been a kinder guy. But anyways, and I just love that music. But the guy who opened up for him, Miles Kennedy, who also plays in Alter Bridge and fronts Slash's band, who Frank is in as well, and Brent is the drummer there, and it's super. I mean, couldn't be a nicer guy. The Joe Fahmy introduced me to all those people. That's where that connection was. And Joe, come on, I mean, you guys have watched Joe on this. I mean, does it get nicer? Or if you haven't watched the Joe's Happy Hour, which is his podcast, you should really watch that. I've watched, I think, almost every episode. I might have missed one or two. I was on there on two of the episodes. You should watch those. I think those are good. But man, he's got some great guests on there. Brent's been on there a few times. Frank has been on there once. That was a really good one. But my point was, Miles Kennedy was the one who opened up for Mammoth with his trio. And oh, sometimes when you just haven't heard a band before, like, because I've heard his voice, obviously, and, I love his voice. I mean, who doesn't love Miles's voice? But hadn't listened to his solo stuff. And he only has, I think, 3 solo albums out. And he's promoting this one, the Art of Letting Go. And so he was playing most of the songs off of that. In the first show was in Vegas, and I was like, wow, this is really good, like really good. And he's a great guitar player. But then the second show that I drove to Houston this past week to go see again, and I was able to be up close and just really watch. Oh my God, that guy is so talented, and he's such a good writer. I've been just listening to that album, The Art of Letting Go, which is really helping me. So if anyone's having any trouble in life, I would go and listen to that Art of Letting Go. That's all I'm listening to right now, just on repeat. That's kind of, if you haven't figured out, I kind of get obsessed with things. So I've just been listening to that over and over again, and it's just so good. Perfect singing, perfect guitar playing, perfect songwriting, and I'm just a huge fan. And I was just going, man, where are they on tour, and can I go again? And I just don't think I'm going to be able to make the rest of this tour, but hopefully the next time. But with that said, so this Miles Kennedy, Art of Letting Go, you got to go get it, Spotify or wherever you listen, and it's so many great songs on there, so many great songs. But with that said, I think it's time. Peace out.